This has been happening for the past 3 years, and my sister-in-law wanted me to write about it. She would, but she still tolerates her sisters and mother. My brother is a bit younger than me, 13 years, as he's 24 now, and I just turned 39. He had just proposed to his girlfriend of the past 4 years, giving himself time to graduate and start with dad at his architect company. Girlfriend is a nurse, RN, and has her own place, a small one-bedroom apartment, and brother lives at home. I lucked out when he told me about their engagement, as I was just entering my bi-monthly 2-week time off. Most times, I am either in New York, only a day or two, before leaving back overseas, so it's a rarity that I even get back to Arizona, let alone 2 weeks at a stretch. I slept the first day back, but the next afternoon, I and my brother headed over to his girlfriend's place to talk, maybe cook or go eat out, and as we got out of the car and head upstairs, we heard an argument. As we topped the stairs, my brother says it's her sister, and with her are 2 kids, 8 and 6, both boys. This is the first exchange with her. Me is me, bro is bro. Bro's girlfriend is sister-in-law, and entitled sister, ES, her boyfriend, EBF. ES, you have to take them. My EBF doesn't want them hanging around. Sister-in-law, bro and his brother are coming over, and I can't take them. He's just getting in town. ES, well, too effing bad. You're gonna have to take them. I can't. She sees us walking up. Bro, there's a problem? ES, see, he's here, and you can watch them. I don't have time to argue. Me, well, actually, since I'm the nice guy, crap. If that miniature golf place is still around, why don't we go there, play a round or two, and get pizza? Sister-in-law, are you sure? You don't have to do that. ES, see, problem solved. She said without thanking me and walked off to her boyfriend's truck, who was serenading the place with musical horn. I tell bro and sister-in-law that I need to head back home to get a bigger car, a 2013 Chrysler 200 convertible we were in, which was limited in seats and safety for kids, and headed down to car. As I was walking around the back of my car, ES's EBF called out to me. EBF, nice ducking car, F. Wheeling out of the space behind me and taking off as sister-in-law gives me a snide look, laughing. I return about 20 minutes later as bro, sister-in-law, and the 2 boys came down. Both of the boys are excited to be allowed to go have fun, and in my cool car, a 2009 BMW 335i sedan. Yeah, nice, but older. This car will be brought up again later. After 2 rounds of miniature golf, we head to the local pizza place for dinner. As we talked, we had given the kids some quarters to play a few video games, and as pizza arrived, so did ES and EBF, and the hostess sat them at the table next to us. The kids ran over to their mother, who insisted they sit down with us since their pizza was there. B. Then, after ordering, the EBF leaned over to introduce himself to my bro, since they had never met, and then laughed about the F remark, and introduced himself to me, actually sticking out his hand to shake mine. And something clicked inside the ES's brain. ES, oh my God, you're me, she said, turning on her ultra charm. I thought you would run off and went overseas or something. And don't you look great? Me, actually, I have a house here. I've owned it for several years. I just don't have too much time to stay around. Bro, he works mostly within the European countries, but based out of New York. ES, oh wow. You have a home here and New York? Me, well, I keep an apartment in New York, kind of a layover between flights and reporting to work. ES, you and I should go out sometime. You like my boys, and they need a dad. The sound of a record needle being dragged across a turning album. Me, thanks, but I don't think we'd be too compatible. Besides, you're currently on a date. ES, we're just friends, giving EBF an odd look, slightly nodding her head a few times while looking at him smiling. EBF. Yeah, he began, searching for words to make her happy. We just hook up at times. As the waiter brings their pizza and he begins eating, a bit of red from anger and embarrassment. I excuse myself and head for the restroom, and was told by sister-in-law this was the actual words that ensued in my absence. ES. You didn't tell me he was rich. My God, I could have married him. Sister-in-law. You didn't like him in school. You and Mom both made fun of him for being poor back then. ES. Like he remembers that. Besides, you're marrying his brother. Make him date me, right? ES staring at bro now. Bro. Dude, I can't do that. Besides, he's hardly ever around. I don't think he'd have much time to spend here anyhow. Sister-in-law. I know. No husband around? Probably got a nice home. My own. EBF. Yeah, and still messing around with me. Both are laughing as I return and sit down. Me. I miss something? I ask, smiling at the group. Sister-in-law and bro looking a bit uneasy. The kids eating, and EBF eating again. Looking at ES, grinning like an opossum as ES actually places her hand on my leg. Before I could say anything, bro and sister-in-law stood up, announcing it's almost the kids' bedtime, and as they had finished, also got up to leave. I tried, but her hand held my leg in place. ES. EBF could take them home, and you and I could, stay and talk a bit. Me. Actually, there's not enough room in his truck, and I still have to take my brother home, so maybe some other time. She slowly moves her hand as I stand up and head up to pay for our food, and for theirs as well. Really, too nice. After returning the sister-in-law to her place, and me and brother walking her to the door, him whispering sweet nothings into her ear. I'm a sucker for love, actually. He bid her and the kids goodnight and went home. Brother telling me what went down out of earshot. I roll my eyes and say I remember her from school, back when Dad started his business. How I have to leave private school and sold my car to help Dad raise money. That the sale of our home at the time, to move into a small apartment to make ends meet for a few years. I mentioned her and her other sister actually started my nickname, Chump Change, back when that happened, as well as her friends and her mother. I didn't have time to worry about that, helping Dad in finishing up high school and then into college. With help from grants, partial scholarships, and working both part-time and with Dad, I was able to get my degree. After 2 weeks of her finding out where I lived, when I did what, and driving past my parents' house, accidentally noticing I was home, at the folks, etc. She made the few days home irritating at best. Luckily, she didn't have or get my email address or phone number yet. But the next visit, her flirting increased tenfold, and her mother got into the mix. Entitled Thought. Gold digging since the beginning of time. I have recently found out in the last few months, there's a title women have been given like her. Gold prospector. Those are the ones who actually do research and insert themselves, or try to, into their target's life. Finally able to leave after the initial encounter with the ES, I headed back to New York and off to work, making sure to keep my mind focused on work. That's usually my main goal, trying to distance my personal life and work. Well, not so personal life, since I work a great deal. I had a few talks with the folks and my brother while away, and my usual routine is about 6 weeks abroad and 2 weeks home. But I had 2 possible clients that I had already been in contact with and went to wine and dined them, hopefully able to get them committed to coming to work for one of the companies I represent. That's where I make a living, receiving a percentage of their agreed-upon contract of service. 10% commission of a year contract, up to 5 years, 15 to 20% of a 10 to 15-year contract, and rarely the 25% of a 20-year contract. Those are for having their name attached to any new or created works. When I returned home, I was getting my luggage, and as I turned around, I was met by an angry ES and a new creature, her mother. Cast of characters for this bit. Me is me. ES, entitled sister of my brother's girlfriend. EM, the entitled mother. Bro is brother. Sister-in-law, bro's girlfriend. Mom is mom, and dad is dad. ES, just where have you been? We had to drive all the way out here to pick you up after your mother finally told us where you have been. Me, what? EM, none of your family would give my daughter your numbers. It's like you are trying to hide or something. Me, look, I don't owe either of you an explanation of my whereabouts. I pick up my briefcase and suitcase and began walking to the front for a taxi. ES, taking my arm. It's just you're hard to get in touch with. Besides, you still owe me a date, remember? Me, not a clue. I don't even remember asking you for one. EM, well, you need to take her out. She's been telling everyone how you and her are meant to be. Me, I'm sorry you think that, but I'm not interested right now in anything. First order of business is a day's sleep. Then, to be honest, I have a lot of things I have to do before heading off again. ES. But you just got back. Can't you even have lunch with us? Mom thought we could drive up to blank and have a nice meal. EM. It's the least you can do since you left without telling us where you were going. When in the hell did I need to tell them anything? Getting outside, my brother had just pulled up in his truck and hopped out to get my stuff as I pull my arm away from ES. Me. Look, it was nice seeing you here and your mother, but my ride is here and I really need to catch some sleep. We drove off, leaving them actually smiling and waving as we did. Me. Great timing, man. I just had the strangest encounter with… Bro, ES and EM, seems like she's got her eye on you for number 3 husband. She and her mother have been hounding me and the folks for your numbers, where you work, where you're at, and everything, even arguing to sister-in-law about all your details. Me. Did I encourage her or something? Bro. Dude, you're well off. Ever heard of a gold digger? She's already got the shovel. We laugh about it and talk other things until getting home. I bid him good night. It's only 4 p.m. and head inside, dropping my stuff off on the bedroom floor and kick off my shoes and doze off. Around 9 in the morning, Tuesday, I was aroused by the sound of mowers and trimmers and went to shower and dress and headed out to greet Guy. Not his name. I have used him and his crew for lawn and pool maintenance since I bought the house a couple of years ago and pay him automatically from my checking since I have only actually seen him 10 times in the past 10 years. A friend from high school. Good guy. We chatted a bit, and when he told me his daughter and her were looking for a car and were having trouble finding a good one in their price range, I offered the BMW I had. Remember from before? Nothing wrong with it, but I actually wanted a larger one for room, and we agreed on a price. I could have gotten more for it, but he's a friend and probably couldn't have gotten much more for it in trade. He paid me and dropped me off at the dealership to buy a new one. I was having a coffee when my mother called me and asked me to meet her at a bridal planner place where she was for lunch. I found the place and went inside where she and Dad were, along with my brother, his fiancée, and of course, his ES and her grinning EM. Mom. There you are. I was wondering if you would like to join us for lunch. We just finished up all the details for everything. Dad. Good to see you, son. Sleep good? Me. Yeah, I needed a bit of rest. ES grabbing my arm again. I'm so happy we're having lunch today. I was just telling Mom about our time in school and how you always were going to amount to something. She actually laid her head on my shoulder. EM. I can already tell there's going to be another wedding soon. Right. I step aside and greet my sister-in-law, soon-to-be, and we headed out the door. As we walked down the sidewalk, ES actually noticed my car, the one I just sold, driving past and a young girl driving it. ES. Who in the hell is that girl driving your car? How dare you? EM. You have a girlfriend behind my daughter's back? Once again, that sound of the needle skidding across a spinning album. Me. I sold it this morning to a friend for his daughter, I said, still a bit stunned from the harsh statements from these two strangers. ES. You sold it? Why didn't you give it to me? I needed it. Me. Excuse me? Your car is almost new. ES. But that one is nicer than mine. She's actually pissed. EM. So you're actually driving that old convertible around now? Who would sell their nice car and drive such a cheap one? I didn't answer. I just clicked the fob in my hand, unlocking the doors of the new car beside me, and I kid you not, their faces went from pissed off to full-on smiles. ES went and got in the passenger side, and her mother into the back seat. ES. This is so nice. Now I know why you wanted to get a new one. So roomy. My boys will love it. I glanced at my folks, who were as dumbfounded as I was. My sister-in-law was in a bit of shock, and brother was grinning a little, shaking his head. Seeming I was stuck at the moment, I got in, and the family followed me to a small cafe where I parked and got out. Almost pissed that ES and EM were waiting in the car for me to open their doors for them. We waited for the family to walk up and we went in and took our seats. I made sure to sit between my mom and dad while the ES and EM sat across from me. A bit annoyed that I had done that, but this was getting a bit tiresome. I will admit, here and now, that the ES is still a very attractive woman, and despite having 2 kids, she was in great shape. But I had already glanced her innermost self and could already see her for what she was and still is. Lunch was a little strained, but okay thus far. Found out that sister-in-law's dad, divorced from the EM, was paying for the wedding, but the EM was griping that it was too simple for her. Even ES was bragging about her 2 formal marriages, how much they cost, how much she was getting for child support from the first one, and how much alimony from the second one. After dessert, Dad was asking me about my trip that caused me to be delayed, and I told him about meeting with 2 previous candidates and had signed them both to 10-year contracts. ES: I would love to travel like you do, meeting all those people, going to Spain and Rome. I bet the whole area is so beautiful. Me: well, it is beautiful there, and the weather was perfect. Wait, how did you know I was in both Spain and Rome? EM: oh, a little bird told us, smiling. Okay, allow me to state here that there are 4 quotes that totally piss me off. A little bird told me. I heard it through the grapevine, like the song though. I promise not to tell. I have my ways. Me, annoyed. I didn't even tell my folks where I was headed to. ES: it's not important. Smiling at her mother and taking a bite. Besides, look at all that money you made. I stood up. I was now pissed. Me: I don't know where you heard about my personal life, but I don't like it. I don't want busybodies snooping around my life and finances. EM: my daughter is not a busy. Sister-in-law: my other sister works at the bank where you bank, she said softly, keeping her eyes down, embarrassed from the conversation taking place. I glared at ES and EM for a few seconds, pulled out a few bills from my wallet and dropped them on the table and walked out, telling Mom and Dad I'd call them later and drove off. Sister-in-law: why do you do that, butting into someone's life? ES: how rude, just leaving me here. EM: you need to teach your son some manners. Both women got up to leave. EM to bro: I hope you're not like that. Time to find a new bank. A restraining order would be nice, but at the same time, the ES and family probably would keep on harassing you using other people. A lawsuit would probably be the solution. You do have a legal case. Somebody gave out his personal information without your consent, and then used it against him. However, I know this would be a bad move, seeing that your brother probably wouldn't ever forgive you for that. ES is still a very attractive woman, and despite having 2 kids, she was in great shape, but I had already glanced her innermost self. This is an ideal example of what I call the 15-minute rule. Of course, I think she managed to do all this in 0 minutes, given the first story, which says a person on a 1 to 10 scale is attractive based on looks, because that's all you have to go by. After that, they move up or down the scale based on personality. Sounds like she might have started at a 7 or 8 and plummeted off the bottom and into negative numbers real quick.